Victoria and Esquimalt Police Board public meeting. I do want to acknowledge with respect that we are within Lekwungen First Nation territory, as Songhees and Esquimalt First Nation. And we're very grateful to their work and stewardship over time immemorial in keeping the lands. All right, so we'll move forward, and right up front, we have a presentation with the Greater Victoria Police Diversity Advisory Committee. This is Sergeant Ames. Welcome, Sergeant. Staff Sergeant.
Yeah, Staff Sergeant Jen Ames. Jen, are you ready to go?
And we'll set some parameters around this. What was the timeline? 10 minutes?
Yes, 10 minutes.
Thank you, and then that'll leave time for questions. All right, if we're working to get Staff Sergeant Ames on the line, then I will go down on the agenda for declaration of conflicts of interest. Are there any conflicts of interest within this agenda? All right, I will declare that if there's anything around arbitration process, I will step out of here. All right, we have the public agenda in front of us, so a motion to adopt the agenda, but I have to go to Michaela because she would like us to move an item up. She has to leave early.
Yeah, there's an opportunity to move item A under new business up to just earlier wherever it fits in so that I can deck out of here as close to 5:30 as possible.
All right, let's make it right after adoption of the public minutes. Okay. So with that agenda change, and we also have rise and report, which is under item number 4, add C, late night task force. Chief will provide us with information on that. So with those two changes, a motion to adopt the agenda, please. Paul and Kayla, all those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion's carried. How are we doing? There? Have we got Staff Sergeant Ames yet?
They are outside in the hall, they're here in person.
Oh,
We're so unused to it.
you're faking us out here. Please welcome them in, yes.
Hi, sorry, you're waiting. We're inside the door.
We're looking at you on the screen here going, where are you?
Yeah.
Please come out to the front and welcome, and please introduce yourselves.
Hi, my name, sorry. Got some cake in my mouth. My name is Brenda Freeman, and I'm team leader for the Family Service Team at the Victoria Mayor Friendship Center, and I'm also the co-chair for the DAP Jennifer.
Yeah, so I'm Staff Sergeant Jennifer Frames with the Victoria Police, and Brenda and I work together as co-chairs on the Greater Victoria Police Diversity Advisory Committee. So I think, here we go. I think Colette's got our PowerPoint. So we thought we would just kind of work our way through. It's short. We just thought we'd give you a little update on what we're doing and some of the things we've been up to over the last year. And Brenda will jump in if I forget something. But yeah, so we thought we'd just kind of go over some of our community engagement, some of our priorities, and kind of what we need to keep on doing what we're doing and to, expand our capacity. So we'll just start with the things that we've been doing over the last, I think the last update was last September. So we just picked up from October. We can go ahead and move it forward, Colette. So I know that there are some new people on the police board. So really quickly, we'll just kind of go over what we're all about. So really the goal of the DAC is to improve communication and understanding between the police of Greater Victoria and the diverse communities that we serve here. And certainly, I think the city is getting more and more diverse. So if you could go to the next one, Colette, thanks. So we do all kinds of things. So we act as a consultative and advisory body to the police agencies in the Greater Victoria area. And we also have initiatives where we help police officers better understand diverse cultures, value systems, unique perspectives, and the different conditions that of diverse cultures. So essentially just intersectionality. And we bring people together through various events. We also help mediate different situations. So I had a member from the African Heritage Association reach out to me with a situation where a couple of boys felt that their complaint hadn't been taken seriously. So it was in a different jurisdiction, but I was able to reach out to that jurisdiction and just let them know that this gentleman would be accompanying the two boys who had made the complaint to West Shore RCMP, and able to just sort of facilitate some open-mindedness, if you will, in terms of receiving what they had to say. Brenda is involved in assisting somebody from who is gender diverse and has a lot of fears. So Brenda and I are able to work together where somebody, you know, perhaps might be afraid of directly approaching a police officer. We've had people reach out through the DAC, knowing that there is that mix of police and community, and using kind of our networks to facilitate like positive resolutions to potentially difficult situations. So I've just kind of gone backward or forwards. So October, since then to now, we have attended Welcome Day at Victor Brodeur. We had members attend Black History Month at Herman's Jazz Club. She was there as well. The DAC put together what we called our DAC dance party, and it was just we were looking for a really non-threatening and fun way to bring police together with community. So we had this idea that we would celebrate people's cultural dance and get people dancing along. And so that's what we did. We had the Lekwungen traditional dancers. We had Scottish country dancers. We had a traditional Ghanaian dancer and from West Africa, and some Bhangra dancers. The chief was best at the Bhangra. Yeah, I think you cut it up. So both Chief Duthie and Chief Manick were there. We had Civic PD members show up, and of course, they're both police and community members on the DAC. And so it was just, we got some photos from all of the events, but it was I would say it was a success. We weren't quite sure how many people we could accommodate or we would draw. So we initially were going to put out 100 tickets, but there was enough interest that we ended up putting out 200. And we kind of put it together quickly and ended up selling 165 tickets. And I would say we definitely had that many people there. So the Friendship Center supplied Bannock, and the Khalsa Dewan Society provided curry, and we provided people with a little snack and some dancing. And it was a really good event. We attended a youth gathering at the Victoria Native Friendship Center that was geared toward LGBTQ2S+ youth. That was great fun, and Brenda and I were at the menorah lighting this year, and we also had lots of people at Truth and Reconciliation Day. So that's Welcome Day. That was myself and Alex Omading, who's a Saanich constable, who is just everywhere in the community. And the next one. That's from the DAC dance party. There are a few of these, so lots of people from the DAC putting it together, also some people from Vic PD, and some photos. Everybody up dancing. That's me dancing very badly with Gordy Dodd.
Good thing there's no video.
Yeah, I think there was.
There's lots.
From the menorah lighting, which was a really wonderful event.
We were all dressed up because it was cold.
It was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, bringing in the light on Truth and Reconciliation Day, which was a real honor to be a part of. And Brenda was there with the Friendship Center as well. So upcoming, so tomorrow, we're gonna have members delivering a workshop in the relevance of EDI and community and policing. So I'll be going tomorrow with David Romero Espatia, who is one of our community members, and also Andy Sanchez from Sydney RCMP as well. We've been invited to Visaki at the temple. We'll be attending Moose High Day. We'll be serving lunch at the Friendship Center on May the 12th. And then we'll have a booth at the Multicultural Festival in July. And we're hoping to march in parade again with Pride. I'm just waiting for registration to open on their website. We have on top. So one of the things that we're still working on is so in 2021, we did a community consultation project that was facilitated by Dr. Musa Magassa, who was very well known and respected in the diversity community in Victoria. He's a very skilled facilitator. So one of the outcomes was a recommendation for a regional civilian equity, diversity, and inclusion coordinator. So that's something that is being supported by all of the area chiefs, and it really comes down to budgeting now and funding for that position. The community, I think, would like to see more of these initiatives, but I think if there's a point to be made, it's the fact that everything that we are doing is being done off the backs of volunteers. Everybody doing this work has a full-time job already. And we are involved in this work because we're all passionate about it and believe that it's really important. So, yeah, I think, you know, if there's anything that the city can do for us, it's to help us by giving us the money to like that portion for the city's portion for the EDI coordinator. And I don't know if you have anything you want to add to that, but
No, I think we have to cover it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, is there one more slide? So really just echoing what I've already said. So really our goal for this is to have a coordinated approach for the regional police agencies, to have somebody who can assist the DAC in terms of the, like really the nuts and bolts of our operation in terms of like maintaining our website, getting our minutes up there, like I think enhancing that transparency, which is important with an EDI group such as ours. And also I feel like, you know, if we had some full-time support, then we could do a lot more. If we had somebody consistently, you know, making a reach into the community, working with me and with Brenda and with other members of staff, then we can just be that much more impactful than we are right now, where we're all fitting it in along with everything else that we're doing. So, and also the expertise, right? Like we're all people who believe in the importance of these initiatives, but none of us are experts. So having somebody who is an expert can really help guide us in terms of making sure our language is inclusive, making sure we're reaching out to the right communities and that we're not missing any gaps. And just also kind of working towards some consistency across the police agencies. So yeah, those are some of our goals for that. As far as what the committee is currently doing, we're just constantly having a look at who we're missing. So I think we have somebody we've got a Ukrainian organization interested in coming on board. We are trying to recruit some youth, and I've also been chatting with the Coalition to End Homelessness. I can't remember their new name off the top of my head, but to get representation for the unhoused community. And the other,
And Burke.
and Berks, yeah. And so there's a relationship with Berks that we've recently reconnected with them, and we're hoping to get Berks, the Vancouver Island Refugee Center Society, back on board again as well. And we need to get our consultation report published. We were hoping to do that in tandem with an announcement that we were hiring a regional diversity coordinator, but we're gonna have to wait and see what happens there. So if anybody has any questions for Brenda or I,
Thank you both. Are there questions? Ron?
Yes, thank you very much for the presentation, both of you, this meeting, both of you again. I remember from the last time, you had mentioned that a lot of this work is being done sort of off the side of your desk or volunteer hours, and, funding or core funding of something that would be useful. You mentioned other agencies that, DAC works with. How many other departments, does DAC work with? Is it regionalized, regionalized or other agencies? Could you just give me an idea of the other police agencies that would be involved or in your position?
Yeah, it's all of the region or agencies in Greater Victoria, so Saanich, Oak Bay, Victoria, Sydney, Central Saanich, West Shore, Souk.
You got it.
Victoria, yeah. I think that's it.
Thank you. So what I would like to maybe suggest to the board, based on your request for funding or regionalized funding, is to perhaps the board consider some kind of advocacy or some kind of letter, something to other boards, other agencies to support your request, come together, finding a way we can all collaboratively fund something from each of our respective community. The money's there, we all know that, but it's a matter of taking the ask. So if you feel that could help the advocates for you, I personally would be open to working with that. So please do you communicate with that with us or myself, and to see if there's something we can help you achieve that goal.
And I'm gonna go to the chief.
Sure.
You had-
Yeah, thank you. So just to support member Dylan's comment there, this was seen as a priority for all of the area chiefs. It was added under the integrated units budget, that the cost would be shared for this position. And I believe that both councils have supported this position. So it's just a matter of rubber stamping that as a budget, 2023 budget gets approved. And so I think we're well on our way to funding, having this position funded and hired.
Any further questions?
Sorry, the question follows, sorry. Is it part of our own respective budgets for this?
Our portion of the expense. Our portion of the expense will be covered, and we're hoping that all of the other municipalities are also able to get their portion of the funding so that this position can be hired.
So like, are they watching us to jump in first to support, or are we watching them? Like,
No, we all did it collectively,
okay.
knowing that the cost, when it's shared amongst so many partners, the cost is quite minimal. But it makes such a huge difference, because right now for Staff Sergeant Ames, she's doing a lot of the work on the corner of her desk, and it's not fair to Brenda as a community co-chair either. They'll be able to leverage a lot of work that they need to get done through somebody who's able to facilitate that work on a full-time basis on behalf of the DAC.
Through sure, wonderful. Do we have a timeline, Chief, as to when that could happen?
Yeah, well, it's dependent upon the funding approval of all the municipalities. I'd probably say another 8 weeks or so. And I know that we've already got the job description written. I think, I'm not sure which police agency is going to take on the HR component of it, whether it's a big PB.
Yeah,
Or-
not sure.
Yeah, so that's something that we need to talk to Inspector Jones about. And then we're ready to roll it out as soon as we know we've got the green light from all the other municipalities.
Thank you, thank you for answering that question. This is good for the public to understand when we hear there's a request for it needs this. I'd like to know what are the next steps. Sounds like the ball's rolling, it's fantastic. Now I just want to have a timeline so it's out there, the public, those who are watching say, okay, they know this is coming, and then there's always like great community events coming, so obviously those folks are waiting as well, because they're obviously appreciative of all of this we've done. So thank you both of you for doing the work, and thank you, David Chiefs, as well, for putting this in the priority. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, I don't see any further hands, so thank you very much, and thank you for surprising us and showing up in person. It's nice to have you.
You're welcome. We've got a couple of brochures, so if anybody wants to know more about this, then there you go.
Sure. You want to just hand them out? You will hand them out, and we'll pass them out.
I'll just pass them around. Yeah, if anybody wants one, they can take one. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. All right, we're now down to adoption of the public minutes, February 21st. A motion to adopt, please. Stella and Charlotte, any errors, omissions, or changes? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion is carried. Board co-chairs update. We are working on our strategic planning session. It is scheduled for May 3rd, and we're looking at media training for the board. We have applied to the local government police modernization roundtable to participate in the work regarding the special report, the report from the special committee on modernization of policing. We anticipate that we will have a new board member soon. And we are also going through another process with the Esquimalt representative to find another board member. So things are moving along. Any questions? Seeing none, and we will, so you didn't remind me.
Well, I was going to, but
Let's
I
go
didn't need to
right
be
to
so
the
pushy.
attendees for upcoming conferences. And Michaela, you wanted this moved up, so I'm gonna get you to initiate the discussion. There are, if we go down to it, there are a number of people who have indicated they would like to attend things. Has anything changed on those lists?
I did get approval to maybe go to the Newfoundland one, off of work, so I would like to add my name to that list if possible. I know that one's hard because it says cost to not be estimated with no details, but when there are.
Which one is that?
That's,
the CAPG?
Yeah, the CPG. I am able to get time off, so it'd be great.
I'll just go to Colette for a second. Colette, do we have any further information on that conference?
No, not yet.
All right. Anyone else? Any changes on the BCAPB conference? We have Charla and Michaela. Any changes on KCOL?
People, I could just put out virtually for myself.
Thank you. And Michaela, virtually?
Yeah, I mean, if I would, it sort of depends, right? If I went to BCAPB, I probably wouldn't try to rush off to Halifax. And I don't need to put my name forward for everything, except for that I love them all and I will go to as many virtually or in person as I can. So that, I just want to say that because my name's on all the lists, that I'm not.
We may have to get you to prioritize.
Yeah.
Okay, and on the CAPG, we have both mayors, Michaela and Sean at this point, and now we've added Bella. Okay, so I think what we need to do is to take this back to committees and finalize things a bit, given that we have a budget of $10,000.
And I'm just thinking with the CAPG conference, we don't have an actual allotment on how much this might cost, but Newfoundland and Nova Scotia are similarly located. So I wonder if we look at this $4,500 per person and to sort of earmark that for CAPG when we're looking at who's attending where.
Okay, Bella?
I just also want to flag, we're getting 2 new members of our board, and also Paul Schwinn probably hasn't heard about these conferences, so it might be good to distribute some information about them after our May 3rd meeting, when people might be appointed, and then revisit this for final budgetary considerations.
Yes, and I think that's critical. Yeah. I do not think we're going to be able to wait for the 2 new people, so they'll have to look at next year. But I also think, given the constraints on the budget, we're going to have to look at focus and perhaps look at sending one person per year to different things, given the costs. So, okay, so anything else that, Michaela, that you wanted to?
No, there's nothing else I need to say, except for Charlotte, are you, when you talk about, sorry, just take your room for a second. When you talk about the BCAPB, are you gonna ask for new member interest? To like join BCAPB next year from police board when you're not the president?
I'll still be on
Oh, you'll still be
CAPB as
president.
past president, and they'd asked me to run as president because I had a longer term left to have that continuity. So when I became president, the other president had finished their term and left. So this way they'd asked me to be president early so that I can sort of help with that continuity.
And in the past, we've also had a CAPG member, rep. So it may be something that those that are interested want to look into to see if you want to put your name forward. as an added bonus, as part and parcel of why you want to go.
No, I'm gonna sneak out, but you can put my name forward for anything that comes up that's interesting while I'm gone and just assume I wanna do that. Thanks.
Thank you very much. We go back to committee updates, and I believe we start with governance again.
Thank you very much. Just go to the page 4. I see here item A, item, which is the UBCM, Police Modernization. This is where it's a roundtable that will be working in response to the Special Committee on Reforming the Police Act. This appears here that Mary Desjardins, our co-chair, has submitted an application on behalf of our board to be present at this roundtable. And so this is the BCM or Union of BC Municipalities seeking to fill 2 positions on this roundtable.
Thank you. Human resources.
We don't have any motions, but we are currently gathering resolutions for the BCAPB AGM, which we shall be reviewing at the next governance committee, as well as putting forward some opportunity to secure some Robert's Rules of Order training for our board.
Great, thank you. And I want to look to staff because I don't remember the topics that staff were looking into with the resolutions. Chief, do you remember?
I'm just.
I see I'm missing the,
Yeah,
Mayor, I have everything. I'll send you an email. I have all the details.
oh, okay.
Thanks, Colette.
I can say that I was working on a motion to be considered around the special report and its reference to regionalization and trying to get some traction on that. And so I will have that for the governance committee to consider be considered by the board. Yeah, a second, see if I can pull it up quickly. Are you sending that now, Colette?
Yes, I just have to find it.
Okay. We'll move on through board member engagement. And when I get that information, I'll come back to the resolution. Oh, sorry. We have to go to finance. Sean, you're going to take this one.
Yes, thank you. I'm just subbing in for Doug Crowder today. There's 3 items here. There's overtime report, which is here on page 5 for information. Item B, of course, is the monthly financial report, which is on page 9. And item C, which is the council budget discussions, pretty self-explanatory. Which is it's ongoing, the budget process for both the township and the city of Victoria. So, and of course, decisions will be coming forth by both by Victoria, particularly by March, and as well to follow after. So that's all I really see here. Will we ask Mr. Merkel to give us an update?
Yes. Yes.
Sure, I can just give you a very brief one. Yeah, so I'll just summarize both. It brings us to the end of the 2nd month of the year, so we're still very early into the year. 15% through the payroll year, so in terms of overtime, non-recoverable overtime is at 9.6%. So below budget, which is encouraging. However, it is still very early in the year and we do get busier as the weather warms up. Also, we're going to see some significant staff turnover again this year from retirements. We're seeing some resignations coming in. So we'll keep monitoring that and obviously this is a monthly report, so I'll be bringing this back regularly. On the financial reports, same thing, we're 15% through the financial year or for the payroll year. Net financial position 14%, so slightly below budget at this time. Same caveat to that one, it's early in the year, things do warm up throughout the year, so we'll keep monitoring.
Okay. Do you want to speak to council budget discussions?
Yeah, so basically, since the finance committee, there has been decisions by both councils. So between the two, there are resolutions to reduce the budget. Did you want me to go into the details? Okay. So Esquimalt has made resolutions to reduce the police budget by $1,307,250. Victoria has made a resolution to reduce the police budget by $1,705,750. $795,000. Due to the way the Police Act works, that is a net impact of higher amount of $1,988,795. And that is because if one item is approved by one council, is not approved, not approved by the other, is not approved. Is that good enough for you? But basically, it's gonna go to the next finance committee. There's a letter coming from Esquimalt, and we'll have discussions there.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted the public to know that what the next step is. And so it will go to finance committee for direction or discussion and then recommendation for the board direction. Okay, I'm just going to come back to the resolutions, the potential resolutions that we're looking to put forward. A request to call levy be applied to phone bills to offset the cost of provisions of the 911 service. A request that the government prepare or share their evaluation reports regarding the recent decriminalization of possession of certain illegal drugs for personal use. I spoke to the regionalization being revisited and a request that mental health aspect of policing be addressed. And so that will be, we'll be looking at whether there's a resolution for that. Okay. Any further input or questions on committee reports? Just a reminder to the public, all of the board members sit in on the committee work, every committee. And that has been because we have been challenged with trying to get to full strength for the police board for a variety of reasons over the years. And so we felt that that was a way of moving items forward. So when you don't hear a lot of discussion here, it's because a lot of discussion has occurred at the committee level. We will move down to board member engagement update.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago, I volunteered at the coldest night of the year at our place, and there was a lot of Vic PD representatives there on the walk. I volunteered for the role of cheerleader, so I didn't go on the walk, but I went there early. I helped answer questions, direct people, and get them excited. I never thought I would be a cheerleader, so that was exciting. I learned a really valuable lesson at this event, so I was hoping to take maybe just a moment to share. As everyone had departed on their walk, I was still in my cheerleader spot, and one of the family members from our place, who was a young Indigenous man, had come up to me and said, "Can you please watch my things so I can go use the washroom?" And I said, "Of course." And I know that he came to me because I'm Indigenous, as the only Indigenous person around. And as he had left, he came back about 20 minutes later, and probably between 10 to 15 people, I had to let them know that I was watching this young man's belongings. And people were going through them. Someone took a couple of his items that I couldn't stop them from taking. And I think we all know the challenges of people who are on the streets and living in that type of situation. And it was just a good reminder to me to how really hard that is. And even for people who were taking his items, they're also in the same position. So I wouldn't want to judge anyone's actions, but just that reminder for someone using the washroom could lose all of their possessions could be a really hard way to live. And I was grateful to have that experience, and also having to tell the young man that some of his items had gone missing. And I tried, because I didn't want him to think that I had neglected the task he'd asked me to do. So I had to let him know that I didn't do as good a job as I had hoped.
Thank you, Charlotte. Are there other members of the board that have been active in the community? I can share that I was at the Welcoming Expo, and I just highly recommend it. It is such a joyous occasion. I saw our members there, and it is so wonderfully colorful. our communities and the people that set this up are so joyous in sharing parts of their culture, everything from food to knitwear to having their dances. So it really is a special occasion, and I highly recommend it for anyone and everyone. And if there's no one else, we'll move along and we'll go to BCAPB Director's Update.
Yeah, so we are in full swing planning our conference, which we just talked about, that is occurring in May. So our conference is in Nelson. I'm on the conference planning committee, and we have been full swing in conference planning.
Great, all right. Any questions for Charlotte? All right, seeing none. We're gonna go down to the Chief Constable update. Chief, if you can just give the high overview of your attendances. In fact, we do have the report in front of us. Speak to the equity, diversity, and inclusion and engagement update. And what I'd like to do is to tie in the late night a task force information so that we make use of your time as best we can.
Sure, perfect. Thank you, Chair. So first off, I'll start off by referencing the activity report that's in your package on page 20. A couple highlights from there. You'll notice that throughout the time from our last meeting to this board meeting, I've attended 7 chiefs briefings. This is my spring briefings that I conduct with all staff face to face, just so that they're up to speed on kind of important issues that the organization is dealing with. Charlotte touched on being at the coldest end of the year walk. Myself, Inspector King, and Director Major, and a number of PD staff participated in that coldest end of the year walk. I presented the Q4 report to the City of Victoria Council since my last update. Deputy Laidman, myself, and a number of PD members participated in the Wounded Warrior Run finale from the Afghanistan Memorial down to Market Square. And the last update that I wanted to provide from my written report is I presented to the Board of Education just regarding the Greater Victoria Teachers Association letter regarding the school police liaison program. I've got 2 updates, and then I'm going to actually turn to Inspector Connor King for the last update on an operational front that I think the board ought to be aware of. You may or may not seen the news release we did last week. This really just highlights the restructure of the organization that we did to create what is called the GIS section. It's a general investigation section, the general investigative section. And they ended up working with the Saanich Police Department and with a number of other partners, and were able to recover 2 handguns, cash, drugs including fentanyl, methamphetamine, and cocaine. And this investigation started to target organized crime and drug trafficking happening in the Greater Victoria area. So these are real serious concerns around public safety, and I just wanted to assure the board that the Victoria Police Department is constantly targeting individuals who are coming into our communities to cause violence and harm. And where needed, we'll partner with other police organizations, in this case, the Saanich Police Department Street Crime Unit, to do what's needed to keep our communities safe. My second update is around 3 charges of arson that were laid earlier this month. We've had a rash of arsons. A lot of these have been around BC Transit shelters or construction sites and porta potties and construction sites. We happen to be conducting surveillance at 2 a.m, where our officers observed an arson suspect enter a BC Transit shelter and observed smoke coming from the shelter, and it was lit on fire. And we're able to act on that. In addition, there was a rental moving truck that was lit on fire, virtually destroyed. Luckily, the building next to it didn't get destroyed. We don't know if the same person is responsible for that, but that investigation is ongoing for that one. And then I'll just turn, before I provide the update on the late night task force, to Inspector Connor King for an important update.
Thanks, Chief. We'll just discuss an arrest that occurred last week with respect to a murder investigation that was 6 years in the making. On February 7th, 2017, the family of Mr. Blair Young notified the Victoria Police that he was missing and they did not know his whereabouts. Started off as a missing person investigation, and then within a few weeks turned into a homicide investigation. Mr. Blair's body was located near the summit of the Malahat, and the Vancouver Island Major Crimes Unit assumed conduct the investigation and worked with Vic PD investigators for the course of the 6 years, which really speaks to the tediousness and the detail needed to track down people responsible for this kind of crime. But I am pleased to say that last year, investigation came to a successful conclusion with the arrest of an individual, Joseph Bob Gilanu, who was arrested and charged with first-degree murder of Mr. Blair Young, and he is in custody and the matter is now before the courts.
Thank you. Before we go back to the chief, are there any questions so far? All right, seeing none, go ahead, Chief.
Okay, perfect. So late night task force. So I just want to bring to the board's attention that last month, it came to my attention that the city of Victoria was looking at removing the funding that is provided under the city's general budget. This is not a line item under the police budget. It's a separate line item under what was called a late night, great night task force. And there was a number of initiatives that the city had undertaken to ensure a safe, vibrant entertainment district. Some of it had to do with the movement of people after hours, make sure there was enough taxis and different options. It included making sure there was public safety around the late night eateries that remain open well past the bars and nightclubs close, and also providing public safety. A chunk of that money, $220,000, was dedicated to providing a late night task force, which allowed the Victoria Police Department to have 4 police officers provide proactive patrols on Friday and Saturday night. This has been extremely beneficial. The return on investment is off the charts in providing proactive safety. Our supervisors keep tabs on every deployment. And so we have records. I was able to go in camera when I expressed my concerns that perhaps this funding would be reduced. I did talk to Mayor Aldo. I asked if I could appear before council and just give them a heads up to what that funding represented and the impact that that would have on public safety if that funding was removed. I went in camera on the 3rd of March and presented to council and basically laid it on the line of the importance of having proactive patrols. It's more than just ensuring there's no overcrowding and over drinking that's happening in the bars. It's also looking after minors. It's looking after overall public safety. And a lot of the restaurants now after hours have turned into semi kind of nightclubs, right? Like if you look at the restaurants in the 500 block of Yates, or even if you look at the Cactus Clubs and the Browns Social House, many of these facilities now operate where people gather. It's not their food primary places, but they actually are a real late night hotspot. And so it's really important that the police have kind of these proactive patrols and are supporting and promoting public safety. Unfortunately, even after my presentation in camera at Victoria Council, they have decided that they're going to remove the funding. That does not leave me an option to restore that funding. So I've got very few options. This was done at the 11th hour as a way to save money. And so now I don't have funding because it's well past the 2023 budget submission to add it to 2023. I potentially can add it to 2024, but what do we do for the remainder of the year? So I would hope that the board would provide some direction and support me going as your chief to Victoria Council. This particular funding is supporting only residents in the city of Victoria. And so if we were to add this as part of our core funding, even in future years, and as I said, I can't do it in 2023, Esquimalt would be paying their portion through the budget allocation formula, which I find is unfair to Esquimalt since they would be getting zero benefit from this particular line item. So, I mean, it is what it is. I cannot do without this funding in order to promote a safe and vibrant downtown entertainment district on weekends. So I'll leave it and I'll
We open it up for questions. Sean?
Yeah, thank you very much, Chief. I appreciate the update. As someone who's a patron of downtown for many decades now, I've seen the difference prior when downtown was like going to clubs and bars myself. I'm dating myself here a little bit, but that's okay. What it was like prior to having police presence, whether it's patrol or whether just, walking the beat, to call it that, what it is today. I've witnessed some of the positive impacts. I was at a restaurant, one of which you mentioned, where we
Sean,
were just sitting.
I apologize,
saw-
but I'm looking for a question.
Okay.
Then we'll have comments.
Well, I guess the question is really, are you looking for a letter of support? Or are you looking for some kind of verbal support here that we can take to respective council members? What is your need to help you make the case?
Sure, through you, Chair. I'm just looking for the board's direction and support on what the next steps are. To me, a viable step for me would be to go back to Victoria Council in the public session and advocate that this funding be restored and really highlight the importance of what this funding means and the impact that it'll have on public safety downtown. I thought I had done that on March 3rd in camera, but I think this might be worth going back a second time and just basically arguing that we don't want to have the funding for this and what the implications are if this funding is not restored.
Is there actual data on what's being done with the late night patrol? Because obviously there was some posts on social media about the late night patrol with Vic PD, and some of the things seemed less important to cover than others. And then the second question is the room for compromise. You mentioned that there's 4 patrol officers out there. Would 2 of them suffice? Is there a way that we can make it work?
Sure, yeah. So I'll just comment on that. Just to your comments about we need to kind of tweet along with the unit. It's interesting how some of our critics, they don't comment on the fights that we stopped and some of the proactive work that we did, but the fact that we're walking through an alley and there was a couple of people that were urinating and we stopped them from urinating, that got a lot of the attention. So the team is doing phenomenal work, and I can tell you, when I shared this in camera with Victoria Council, there are active gang members who have a propensity for violence that are coming into our nightclubs. They like to have a good time, just like anyone else does. These individuals do not belong in our locations. They need to be ejected. Many of them are barred from similar premises in the Lower Mainland. So what they do is they come here. This is all a part of the BC violence that we have, that we see with what was usually called the Lower Mainland gang violence. There are significant risks that the Vic PD is preventing by being proactive and being in the bar. So first and foremost, I think we need to kind of highlight what the police are doing in the role that we have, and we are welcome. In fact, it is absolutely irresponsible to ask staff working a front door to not allow people to come in who they know are violent offenders. And so the police have to be there to promote that safety and to allow the ejections to occur in a responsible manner so that the staff are not targeted for not allowing these people entry into the premise. So I think that there are stats. I did present the stats. Every supervisor in every deployment conducts a sheet at the end of the shift. We've had a number of ejections. We've responded. We've prevented impaired drivers where individuals, our officers are flagged down, where literally they see somebody staggering to a car across the street, and our officers will be flagged to say, officer, you need to stop that person. Look at, they can barely stand up and they're walking to their car, and as they get behind the wheel, our officers are able to navigate and go stop people from driving while they're impaired. So there's so many positives for the program. For $220,000, the return on investment, as I've said, is off the charts. So I'd be happy to bring some of those stats and those numbers to the city and advocate to restore this funding.
Yeah, and I think it would be helpful for the board if you could share those at the next opportunity, and clearly that's in camera. I have Charlotte and then Paul.
I don't know if this is the right time, but I'd like to put a motion forward that the board requests Chief Constable Manick to go to Victoria Council in the public session and request 100% of these funds be reinstated.
Okay, is there a seconder to the motion? Paul, thank you. We will still allow questions as we go, and so Charlotte, do you want to speak to this at all as the mover?
Sure, I think it seems very important. I think if funding is not going to be, we need time and to be able to fulfill this. I know a lot of people enjoy the downtown core. There's been a lot of news about greater crime rates in downtown, and I firmly support having this initiative in our region.
Okay, Paul, you get a chance to ask the questions and motivate yourself as well.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Chief, for this report. First off, it's troubling. It's troubling, and I'm very unfortunate that this time, and with what we're seeing by the public and wanting increased police support in our communities, that the city of Victoria would make a decision to cut funding from the downtown core at this time. The chief's report is crystal clear for anyone to read, the difference that this task force is making. And I fully support the motion for one. Just in regards to the effect of this task force, the questions through the chair to the chief is have we also reached out to the Chamber of Commerce, the business community, to get their support on this? Because I would have to assume that of course, this is helping public safety and reducing crime. I would have to assume that the business community who are operating all of those nightclubs and restaurants would be supportive of this program. So I just wondered, Chief, if you could comment kind of on that effect, on that side of it.
Sure, yeah, so this has all come down the pipe so quickly. As I mentioned, I just literally learned that this potential funding was going to be removed last month. I actually thought my presentation on March 3rd was going to be effective, and councillors kind of not looking at this funding to remove the funding. I know that the Bar and Cabaret Association, which we work closely and collaboratively with, would support it. I haven't had the chance. Really, this board meeting was coming up, and I wanted to just get support from the board and seek some direction from the board as to what my next steps would be. At the end of the day, yes, I can get letters of support, and I certainly will seek that. But this is funding that the city had provided to create a safe downtown entertainment district on the weekends. And let's be honest, the weekends are where more people go out to enjoy the night. And what we see on Sunday to Thursday is not as prevalent, but it's really, really important that we have those extra officers. And I think I'll answer the obvious question, which is, geez, Chief, what about the on-duty resources? Do you not have a capacity to provide proactive patrols with the resources you have? And the simple answer is that I don't.
Okay, Bella, and then I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
We are speaking to the motion and or questions.
Yes, yeah, I was gonna speak to the motion that I can't support a motion that asks Victoria to pay 100% of the 220,000, only because we look at the Esquimalt, they may not be in their downtown core, but people are not all in Victoria that are spending time at these bars. It's people from Esquimalt, people from Saanich, it's people from all over. So Esquimalt, I believe, should pay into that fund, and of course, it's another case for regionalization, but that's not pertaining to this motion.
Okay. Chief, Paul asked my question about what contact has occurred with DBBA and the chamber, but I'd like you to sort of address, if there is no funding, what does that mean with regard to the 4 officers, and what work needs to be done with DBBA and the chamber in terms of how this might play out?
Well, I mean, I think I need a crystal ball to really determine what the next steps would be. Again, I was confident that the funding would not be cut. So, I mean, I'm extremely disappointed that that did not happen. I think once the DBBA and the chamber and the business community, and even the people that are accessing downtown, kind of realize that the officers are not going to be funded, this creates a major significant public safety challenge for 2023. Had I got this notice 6 months ago, 8 months ago, we potentially could have had a discussion whether it comes under the police budget or how it's funded. But it seems to me that it's an 11th hour decision to cut as much money that they can from certain line items without really truly appreciating and recognizing the impact that has. So this this is a challenge, and I've talked to our controller. I've asked him, is there any way that, it's $220,000, is there any way that we could find it within our own overtime budget or any other line item? And Mr. Hercog has assured me that our budget is set and it's quite rigid, and it does not have the capacity to spend money that we don't have in our budget, and it certainly would create major challenges for us with deficits that perhaps we would be forecasting for the end of the year, if in fact it turned out that I had to use big PD funds that aren't allocated for this service.
Okay, and so any further discussion on the motion?
Read back what the motion is, please.
It was just in my head.
Paulette, can you read it back for us?
I can repeat it.
The motion
Yes.
was to request that Chief Manic attend city council in a public session and request the reinstatement of the $220,000 funding for the late night task force.
We'll call the question. All those in favor? Those opposed? All those opposed. Okay, motion carries. Chief, we expect that you'll keep us up to date on this because it will affect overall. Okay, next up, we have,
Just of the equity.
Yes.
diversity, inclusion.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So it's in the package on page 20 at the very bottom. I wanted to just let you know that I participated in the Aboriginal Coalition to End Homelessness video shoot, as did Deputy Chief Jason Laidman. We've got a strong partnership over the last 6 years with the coalition, and we've actually entered into a partnership with them on a gender-based violence project to look after improving the safety of Indigenous women and Two-Spirit people, and they were doing a video shoot. Also, it's not in your package because this just happened yesterday, and the board package was already sent out, but it'll include it next month. I was able to meet the new imam, Sami El Sheikh. There was a transition period for the imam at the masjid just down the street from Big PD. And now the new imam is in place, and he wanted to come and meet me, and we'll certainly further our relationships that we have with the masjid and the Muslim community. But again, I'll provide more information on that next month when it's added to the package. Thank you.
great. Any questions for the chief? All right, we'll move on, and we have done attendees for upcoming conferences earlier. So we're at the Rise and Report, and we had a great presentation from Ecom and at the committees. As a Rise and Report, we also have the letter from Big PD and Island Health to Minister Farnworth, regarding co-response team. So we move down to correspondence, and we have a letter from Ecom Next Generation. Any further comments, discussion from the board? Right. Thank you very much.